So I thought tonight, for the last part of my story for now, we would come here to the church and we would film on location of what has been part of my life for 10 years here in Cumbernauld. As we've looked at, we've moved from View Park to Motherwell to Cardiff and then to working here at Craighalbert. I recognise some of you have been here longer than me, and as you watch this tonight, I hope you just capture some of the things that we enjoyed in this building before lockdown. But if you've never been before, I want to give you an insight into the facilities and the resources that we've got here at Craighalbert Church. So let's go inside and have a look. As I said last week, being able to work in a facility like this is a real blessing. The amount of activities and things that we've been able to do, even over the past 10 years I've been here, but before that have been incredible. So as I take you inside, remember that everything we do here is to connect and to love the people who live on our doorstep, and I'm excited to show you around. One of the things you'll always get coming to Craighalbert Church is an awesome welcome. You know, from the minute you walk through these doors, you're loved. It doesn't matter who you are or where you've came from. In fact, you'll probably get a big hug if we're allowed after COVID. But our whole purpose as a church is this: to glorify God and to serve others. And that is our heart for the work that we do. So make sure that when you come along, you look forward to that welcome. It was the first thing that impressed me in coming to be part of the church and to come and work with the church. One of the awesome activities that we have here in Craighalbert Church is our toddler group. It runs 5 sessions a week, and we have Yvonne, Elaine and Joy, plus a whole load of volunteers that come into this room. It's absolute chaos. And I have to be honest that during this time of lockdown, one of the things that I've missed is the noise, the excitement, the screaming, getting to come and have a coffee with the parents and the grandparents and the carers. But this room is absolutely amazing because we can have so many different activities in here to be able to serve our local community. As well as the toddler activities, we've had youth activities, we've had concerts, we've had weddings, we have our community Christmas dinner with the local Tesco with Doreen, and we have about 120 folks from the community come and enjoy a Christmas celebration together. We've had Christmas Eve celebrations in here with Stuart Townend in concert. We've had so many community days and other activities that having a facility with a multi-purpose hall really opens up the opportunities that we can do every single week. That is why I'm blessed and excited about what's happened in the past and what we're going to do in the future. Let me take you through to another room in the church, which again is a special place. We would meet every week in this room for prayer and for Bible study. Again, we've had loads of activities in here. But right at the start, when this facility was built, there was a small group of around 40 people, and this is where they started their services. Come and have a look. Every week on a Tuesday night, we have around about 40 to 50 people who come to pray together, who come to learn together in this room. We worship together, and we've seen God move through the result of the things that people have prayed in this very place. Again, it's strange to have our Tuesday nights now just with a Zoom meeting and a few people being around. It's strange not hearing singing coming for this place. It's strange not hearing the prayers of God's people. And you know, I miss it big time. It's one of the highlights of my week. And here we are today in an empty room. And hopefully it won't be too long before we can get back together. I would have loved to have been part of this church's journey in the very early days, when this is where they did church. In fact, it got to the point with the church growing so quickly that actually people were sitting on the bunker in the kitchen. Now, we use this for our church lunch, we use this for all our activities, but could you imagine on a Sunday morning coming in here and this place being so packed? But it meant that they had to think big. And that's one of the things that this church has always done. They think big. They have big ambitions. And that meant they had to look to say, how are we going to create a space where people can worship and be together and be comfortable together and enjoy it together out of this space? I want to take you upstairs to show you what they created, because again, as part of my ministry over the past 10 years, this has been a key place for me. It's not just been a sanctuary, we've used it for many events, and I want to take you up there now to let you see it. So from the View Park days, setting up the community centre every week, to then moving to Cardiff, where they had this amazing facility, quite similar to ours here. And then going from that to Johnston, to one room and a kitchen. Arriving at Craighalbert and seeing what we could do with the facilities here, and I want you just to take a look around. We have got cinema seats here. We've got an amazing worship facility. We've got all the multimedia that you could ever imagine. So coming from a place where we didn't have very much, to seeing the investment that the church had put into getting this place to be quite an awesome meeting room has been a real blessing for me. It really opened my eyes and opened my brain and opened my mind up to what could be achieved, to see the possibilities and to think outside the box. And again, we've loved special times in this room, special times together, but again, it's quiet. I come here every week into what is now a film studio. I have to come and speak to a wee camera, which is over in the corner. And then I have to just pray that God is going to take that message and He's going to connect it to people online. But church is very different today. And it's been really strange to get used to this new norm that I've been talking about. But I've said this many times. I want to see this place full. Not just because people are wanting to turn up to church. Not just because they're ticking a religious box, but because they've met Jesus even through lockdown. And that has happened, folks. I'm excited to say that the online services that we've been having are connecting with people's lives and helping them to see who Jesus is. That's my passion in life. And to be able to serve here in Craighalbert, that has really, really excited me even now during lockdown. When I studied at Tilsley College, we didn't get a module on how to handle a global pandemic. And the whole idea of then relying on technology and having to set up this studio with the help of Al Deacon from Craighalbert Baptist, and just his heart that when this all kicked off, he was willing to strip out his church and give it to local churches so that they could go online. But I have to tell you folks that I have struggled big time having to speak to a camera, to this little rectangular lens, and not have the people in this room. Not having you here with me, but having to talk to that thing. But believing that God can still use it to transform lives. It's been quite a lonely place over the past 14, 15 weeks. And as someone who loves to connect with people, it's actually been a real challenge for me. So the idea of getting back to normal at some point really does excite me. In fact, I'll use this camera. So thanks for bearing with us over this time of lockdown. Recognise that in some ways we're winging it. We're trying to figure out what the next best step is with the advice that we've got. But we're also wanting to feed you spiritually and to encourage you where you are. Because I believe that when God called me back 20 years ago into full-time ministry, that it didn't matter the location that I was in theory. And I've always said that. When God called me, I believe He called me to basically tell people about Jesus. The location just happened to be where I was at that time. And as a result, over many years, I've connected with many people pastorally who have needed some encouragement, who have needed some help, who have needed some reassurance, but ultimately who have needed to know that God is with them and God supports them. And that's part of the passion of what I have in the ministry that I'm involved in. I'm excited to see God change lives. But I want to tell you another side of the story. I want to let you see that sometimes us pastors don't always get it right. There's sometimes we make mistakes. There's sometimes we make choices that don't help us along the way. And I want to share that with you now. Some people might describe me as a bit of a workaholic. I don't see it that way at all. I believe that, as I said last week, that being able to serve God with all my life, not seeing it as a job or something that I have to turn up to do, but actually it's just part of who I am. It also brings its limitations. And a few months ago in May, I put a post on Facebook which talked about my journey with my mental health, because as a pastor I was so busy investing in other people and taking care of other people, I actually neglected to look after myself. For 20 years almost, I had been running at 100 miles an hour with the enthusiasm and the energy that I just loved to get involved in everything. But then quickly discovered that after a wee glitch, actually I had to slow down. I had to take time out. I had to look after myself physically and spiritually. I kind of reached a point of burnout. And even at that point, I was in denial, because I still wanted to serve. I still wanted to get out there into the community. But I actually had to stop and take a moment and reflect on what was happening. I had to look at my family and see the impact that it was having on them. To see Fiona and the kids who have supported me all the way, who have warned me along the way, you're doing too much. But actually what I discovered was that in my drive, in my pursuit to help and love others, I hadn't loved myself. Now that maybe seems like a bit strange because I always say love God and love people. But there are times that we have to look after ourselves and take care of ourselves. A friend of mine says, John, if you're empty, how are you able to fill somebody else? And this was a real pressure point about 3 years ago, which almost sunk me, to be honest. I was struggling with paranoia, worrying what other people were thinking about me. I was struggling with stress and anxiety. I was feeling the lowest that I've ever felt. And I actually didn't know if I was going to get out the other side. My career, people could say, was on the line. But I saw it more than that, is that my life was on the line. I recognised that for us as a family, this moment that I had was something that I had to manage. I had to get some help. I've been thankful over these past 3 years for the support and the love of those who care about me. You know, being a pastor is sometimes, as I say, quite a lonely place. I remember years ago somebody saying to me, John, when you come into church leadership, it's a lonely position to be in. I couldn't understand it because when you're working in a church, you're surrounded by people. Well, up until now. But what I've discovered, and they were actually quite right, is that sometimes people will keep you at a distance. They'll allow you into their lives as far as they want you to. And actually friendships and relationships can be quite difficult. And for me, who naturally wants to connect, again, I found that quite difficult. But can you imagine putting into the mix that moment 3 years ago where I was struggling big time? It was an even lonelier place. But I'm thankful to God that He brought me through that. And if you want to connect with that wee video that I posted in May, let me know. I can send it to you or I can send you the link. But in my pursuit to try and bless and help and tell others about the hope and the life that Jesus could bring, I actually had neglected myself. And I learned a lesson that, yes, as I said last week, I have to cast all my care on Him. I had to recognise that when I am weak, He is strong. Folks, if you're watching tonight and you're feeling low, you feel as if you need some help, you feel as if you're running at a pace that is just beyond what you can, but you're struggling to see what to do next, can I encourage you, stop and take a moment and think about what you're doing. Reach out and get help. Take time to pray if you're someone who prays, but recognise that God wants to do new things in you and let you see a new way. Don't burn out. You'll be no use to anybody. And that's a lesson that I've learned. After 20 awesome years of ministry, you have to be so careful. So as I said, there was loads of activities that we've done in this hall over the years. And at this time of the year, as I said last week, we would normally have our summer kids club. And we have a brilliant team. Adam and the team come up with some awesome concepts. We've had Big Top, we've had Under the Sea, Going for Gold, we've had superheroes. Oh, there's too many to remember. And they are a brilliant week. This hall just transforms into something magical, where we get a chance to play games, do crafts, but we also get a chance to be able to share about God's love for this community and for the families that we engage with. I want you to imagine that if you come into this space, that you're transported somewhere else, and you can come in, parents can go through and have a coffee in the lounge for a wee while, but again, what we've discovered is the relationships that are built, the people that we've connected with, the families that we know from this community as a result of these weeks, have actually formed friendships together, which are lifelong friendships through toddlers, through Kids Club, through the Thursday After School Club. We have Energy Youth Club, which meets in here as well, and in the lounge. And when you think about it, as a church, we have got a real blessing to be able to use this facility to impact the life of others. To live in this community in Craighalbert, Carrickstone, Ballock, Eastfield, just the whole of Cumbernauld, we want them to be blessed by coming here. And we know that there are people out with that area who also attend. So being part of this church where we can use this multi-purpose hall for these blessings is absolutely incredible. I want to get back to having more things here. My vision and my ideas for moving forward, working with the leadership teams, working with the volunteers to be able to bring stuff in this room that changes lives is really exciting. We had loads of plans of the things that we were going to do this year. And a couple of weeks ago, you'll remember I shared these verses. For God knows the plans that He has for us. And as I came into the church the other day, I picked up this newsletter. And it says March 2020 in it. And when I opened it up, it had all the activities and all the things that we had planned to do. There's my Lego club, which we meet in the hall. Again, started off as a small group of people in the lounge, but we have rolls and sausage and bacon, and so many people come now to engage with that. A simple idea, it's just Lego, but people can come and relax as families with their friends and get to do it. But it's all cancelled. The plans that we had for special Sunday night events and everything else, they've all gone. Now, do I look at that and say, well, what's happening? God, what are you doing? Why are we in this position? But I believe it's because God has got something bigger in store for Craighalbert Church. And I want you to be part of it. I want you to engage with it. I want you to support it. And I want you to be here to experience it as we go ahead. The plans that we have, do you know what? Sometimes they don't work out. But I know that God's plans always do. And you can trust that tonight. Even like that wee glitch that I was talking about, my experience and how my life seemed to go a bit wrong at that point, God is using it for a purpose. For me to be able to reach out and engage with the people who are experiencing the same thing. And if that's you, I would love to talk to you. I'd love to pray with you. I'd love to help you during this time. So as I bring this part of my story to a close, thank you for coming on this journey with me over the past few weeks. I hope it's been an encouragement. I hope it's been a blessing. But I do hope, as I said last week, that you would see that this isn't about John's story. This is about God's story. I recognise my weakness. I recognise my inadequacies. I recognise my failings. But I also recognise that God has called me as an individual to serve Him. And I know that He's called you to serve Him as well. And you might not be feeling up to the challenge tonight. You might be thinking, who am I that God would want to use me? You'll remember that I shared that with the life of Moses and how he had all these excuses about how God should send somebody else. But I've been thinking about my own calling and recognising that the task that God has given me is too big for me on my own. That's why I need you. That's why I need you to partner with me and to help me. I was thinking about the life of Gideon. And I'm always encouraged when God takes the wee guy and does big things. And I started with my story about a wee guy for the scheme. And here in Judges chapter 6, the people are finding it really hard. They're struggling. They're on their knees, maybe a bit like we are now. And what happens next is amazing, is that God calls this wee guy. And He says to him, mighty warrior. And he didn't feel like a mighty warrior, like a hero. In fact, it tells us that he said, well, my family is the weakest and the least in this whole clan. And I'm the least in my whole family. And that's how Gideon felt. And folks, that's how I often feel. I still feel as if God should get somebody else. But I also recognise that He wants to do it in me first and transform me first. And then help me to let you see what He can do. I want to look at this little passage in Judges 6. It says this, the angel of the Lord appeared to him and said, mighty hero, the Lord is with you. Sir, Gideon replied, if the Lord is with us, why has all this happened to us? And you might be sitting tonight and that might be your thought. If God is with us, why are we experiencing what we're experiencing now? But here's what it says as it continues. It says, and where are all the miracles our ancestors told us about? Didn't they say the Lord brought us up out of Egypt? But now the Lord has abandoned us and handed us over to the Midianites. You might be feeling like you're being abandoned in your life. Let me tell you again, God does not abandon you. Here's what it says. Then the Lord turned to him and said, go with the strength you have and rescue Israel from the Midianites. I am sending you. Don't forget, folks, when God calls you, He calls you and He sends you and He empowers you. And then he continues with Gideon saying, how can I rescue Israel? My clan is the weakest in the whole tribe of Manasseh, and I am the least of my entire family. But here's what the Lord says to him, and the Lord says the same to you tonight. I will be with you, and you will destroy the Midianites as if you're fighting against one man. Gideon replied, if you're truly going to help me, show me a sign and prove that the Lord is really speaking to me. Don't go away until I come back and bring my offering to you. And the Lord says, I will stay here until you return. And after that, Gideon then says, God, I'm going to test to see if the fleece is wet or dry or whatever it's going to be to prove that you've called me. Folks, I want to just say to you tonight, I feel blessed and honoured and humbled that I've been called here to serve you, here in this church, here in this community. And I will do everything that I can do in the Lord's strength to see the victory. The Lord bless you. And I look forward to seeing what He's going to do in your life and my life in the days that lie ahead. Let's just pray. Father, as we finish this part of my story, I'm thankful, Lord, that you've got everybody else's story in mind. Thank you that we've all got a story. And we're all on a journey of faith. And Lord, when we feel weak, you are strong, we've been reminded. When we've got excuses, you've got the answer. And Lord, I pray that as we continue to live out loving you with all our hearts and loving everybody else as a result of that, Lord, that you would change your lives first. You would change your family's lives. You would change your community's life. And Lord, as a result, you would change your nation. Lord, we recognise that the things we're going through seem too big for us. And that's often how it is in life. But the reminder, time and time again in your word, is that nothing is impossible for you, God. And we commit this night and commit everybody that's watching into your hands in your name. Amen.